everyone, my name is Miranda and today you are getting 2 videos for the price of 1, even though they're both free at this point. Because today I'm here doing a book and movie review for Roald Dahl's The BFG, and I don't think I said his first name right, but I'm terrible at pronouncing names. So first off, let's start off with the book, because I honestly didn't think I had ever read this book before. I'm pretty good about remembering if I have read a book before. If not, like, I can't remember exactly how I felt about it, but like I can remember reading it. But reading this book was really trippy because I started realizing that I had read this book before in elementary school. It must have been like 1st or 2nd, maybe even 3rd grade. My librarian read it to me, and it's like I didn't even remember the entire thing. Like, I didn't remember the BFG or anything like that. It was just like random stuff. Like the snozcumbers I remembered, and the juice that they drink that makes them fart, or the fizzy pops or whatever. I remembered that stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have read this book before. So it was like mind-blowing and a little disconcerting to realize that I had forgotten this part of my childhood, because this book was fantastic. I actually cannot obviously remember. I mean, I probably maybe have read some other Roald Dahl books, but I can't remember reading any, so this was my first official one, I guess, that I remember actually reading, and I really wanted to read it before the movie came out to get that comparison. It's just something about his writing, and I mean, I'm not the first one to say this, obviously this isn't anything new, but there's something about that's magical and innocent and friendly, and like it just makes you feel that childhood wonderment and awe at everything that's happening. And like reading this, I literally was just like amazed by everything I was reading, and I just felt comforted, mostly is the thing. Like it felt comforting, like being back in childhood and that place where every single thing is imaginable and nothing is impossible. Giants can exist. Santa Claus is coming on Christmas Eve. Just that kind of wonderful empowerment of being a child and having no restraints to what you can believe in. It was really nice to like feel myself back in that kind of place in this book, and Roald Dahl is such an amazing writer that he could make me, as not a child, still feel like a child reading this book. So I really want to go and read all his other books now that I read this one, because this was definitely, I was like, this man, I can see why he is the #1 storyteller in the world. And the story is just really, really cute. It's about Sophie, this girl who lives in an orphanage. She sees the BFG, the big friendly giant, one day, who is this huge giant. He snatches her up because he realizes that now that she's seen him, she can't just be trusted not to go and blab about that. So he takes her back to giant village, town, land, country, giant country. But there are also 9 other giants who are way bigger than the BFG, and they are human-eating giants. So the whole thing is Sophie wants to come up with a plan to stop these giants, and convincing the BFG that this is the right thing to do, exposing himself as who he is as a giant. The risk is worth the reward in this case, and that's where the story goes on. The movie, on the other hand, I was very much looking forward to it. The trailer looked really magical, looked beautiful, so I went with my grandparents, and we all were very, very, very disappointed in this movie. Like, I can't tell you what exactly it was about this movie. There was just so many bad things about it. First of all, I'm starting to notice that, like, as the quality of animated movies starts to get more and more realistic looking, like you can literally track it where real movies start to look more and more fake and animated, because like just that beginning scene of London at the orphanage, that didn't look real to me. And I think it was computer generated, but obviously some of the buildings were real. It just looked too perfect, too polished, and that was the whole movie to me. None of it looked real, because they all looked too polished and perfect and like unimaginable. Like nothing was out of place, and that's what made me like take myself out of it, because I was like, this doesn't look real. Also, the main actress that they got for Sophie, she wasn't bad per se, but since so much of this movie rests on her, I don't think she was the right fit for it. She just wasn't that strong enough. And then it's just they added in things that weren't in the book, which I didn't really like. BFG gave her a nightmare about the monsters eating her, and I don't think he would do that in the book. That's just like not his character. He's too gentle for that. There's also this scene where he decides that it's too dangerous to keep her around, so he brings her back to the orphanage, and they have this whole moment of her being like, no, I want to stay. That never happened in the book, and it was so pointless because it was so cliche and something we see in so many movies nowadays that like the book didn't have it because it wasn't cliched. So we had this weird storyline of how the BFG had actually had a kid before that was his friend, and that kid I guess got eaten, and now that's why the BFG was hesitant with Sophie, but like that just was kind of like a plot device thrown in to make some more emotion, and it didn't really make sense. There was this awkward thing where Sophie found like this kid's old bedroom, and she had been sleeping in a tree like on the log, and she finds a bed, and I was like, you couldn't give her the bed, you had a bed the whole freaking time, and you made her sleep on a log. But then like she also finds this portrait of the queen, and I was like, oh, is this going to be like the queen's son? And like he'll have disappeared like 20 years ago and that's why the queen will believe them or whatever. No, he just happened to have a picture of the queen. So I was like, is this her son or is this just a British thing? And I thought it was going somewhere. I thought it was going to be like her son and they were going to be like, hey, remember little Michael who disappeared 20 years ago? Yeah, BFG knew him. We have his jacket. But no, that never went anywhere. And then there was also this super awkward scene where like she was trying on the boy's jacket not knowing, and the BFG comes over and like sees her in the jacket and gets like all like stuck, you know, like he can't talk, and she's just like, what is it? And the camera like pans down and up her like 5 times, and it was just like super, it was a creepy angle. Like the male gaze aspect of the camera was very creepy in that scene, considering this is like a 10-12-year-old girl and we're just like panning up and down her body. Like it was super weird to me. And then the dialogue was also very stilted. Like this dialogue flowed very, very well. And it was funny. It was good and it was not hard to understand. Like it was just like conversations, not big descriptions. This dialogue, on the other hand, was like so stilted it wasn't even funny. Like one of the whole plot things is Sophie drops her blanket, so that's how the giants know she's in giant country and they want to eat her. And it's literally like they're just like talking about something completely random. Like, I don't even remember what it is. I think she's just like, why do you let the giants beat up on you or whatever? And he's like, I don't know. And then there's like this super awkward silence for like a whole 15 seconds where like they're not looking at anything. It's just no one talking. And then all of a sudden Sophie's like, oh, do you have my blanket? And I'm just like, that was super subtle, guys. A+ on the subtlety, because like literally she was just like, all right, wait 10 seconds and your line comes in 5, 4, 3, 2. Do you have my blanket anywhere? I was like, it was just an all-around disappointment. I didn't feel that magicalness that I felt while reading the book. My grandparents were disappointed, so it clearly wasn't just me. None of the kids or parents in the audience really even laughed or like seemed to enjoy this movie. Like everyone was just sitting there like just wait, like you could hear popcorn crunching occasionally because it was just like drop dead silent. I give the BFG a BFD for big fat disappointment because it was just horrible. Like there's not even a good thing I could, it was boring, it was long. I swear you could read the book in the time it took you to see the movie. I don't even know how some of those kids sat through that movie. There was like a 2-year-old in front of me and I was like, I'm bored to tears and ready to leave. Like, how are you managing this? I don't know. I just really didn't like it at all. I would give it 1 out of 5 stars. Not good. I recommend skipping it if you are thinking about seeing it or not. It's just, there's nothing redeeming about it, honestly. It just wasn't, it didn't capture the spirit of the book. The characters weren't that great. They weren't that developed. And also Sophie and the BFG's relationship was like not developed at all. And that's like what the whole story depends on. And for it to just be like, they had like some like forced moments where it was like, we're friends, but like you didn't really feel that camaraderie. It didn't feel natural. And I don't know if that was just dialogue or the fact that this girl was working with this animated Mark Ryland, or if they just literally didn't have good chemistry together, but it just, nothing about it worked, and it was really disappointing. I was expecting a lot more. So if you have seen or read the BFG and have any comments about it or thoughts, if you liked it or didn't, please feel free to leave your thoughts about it down below in the comments. Also make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel down below to be sure to make all sorts of new videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!